Have you ever wondered why the people who tell the whole truth, who expose their thoughts freely, who wear honesty like a moral badge, are so often the ones overlooked, exploited, sidelined, or quietly defeated? Honesty feels virtuous, it feels clean, it feels like strength because it removes internal conflict. You say what you think, you show what you feel, you reveal what you know, and you tell yourself that this transparency makes you powerful. But Machiavelli would look at this instinct and recognize it instantly for what it truly is, a dangerous misunderstanding of human nature. Not because truth is evil, but because timing, control, and asymmetry govern power far more than morality ever will. The world does not reward honesty, it rewards leverage, and leverage is built on information, not its careless release. Every truth you reveal is a weapon you hand to someone else. Every thought you expose becomes a map of your intentions. Every emotion you display teaches others exactly where to press when they want something from you. This is not cynicism, this is observation. This is how humans have always behaved when incentives align against restraint. Machiavelli understood that people are not moved by truth alone, but by advantage. They listen not to what is right, but to what benefits them. And when honesty costs them nothing, they may praise it. But when honesty places them at a disadvantage, they will use it against you without hesitation. Not because they are evil, but because the structure of human behavior rewards those who do. From childhood, you are conditioned to believe that honesty builds trust in controlled environments. Among aligned interests, this is sometimes true. But power does not exist in controlled environments. It exists where interests collide, where scarcity applies pressure, where ambition sharpens perception. In these environments, honesty becomes exposure, and exposure becomes vulnerability. The cold mind does not lie compulsively. That is a mistake weak manipulators make. The cold mind withholds, it filters, it chooses silence over confession. It understands that not every truth needs to be spoken, and not every silence is deception. Power lives in selective revelation, not constant transparency. You begin to see how honesty becomes a liability the moment it is predictable. When people know you will always speak plainly, they stop listening for meaning and start listening for weakness. They wait, they provoke, they ask questions that seem innocent but are strategically placed. And because you believe honesty is strength, you answer, you clarify, you explain, you reveal, and slowly, without realizing it, you surrender the advantage. Machiavelli would say that the most dangerous person is not the liar, but the naive truth-teller who believes the world is obligated to treat honesty with respect. The world is not obligated to do anything. It responds to force, incentive, and consequence. Honesty without power is confession, and confession, outside a protected space, is surrender. This is why those who rise quietly often speak the least. Their words are measured, their expressions controlled, their intentions obscured. Not because they are hollow, but because they understand that clarity should exist internally, not externally. Internally, they are brutally honest with themselves. Externally, they are precise. Most people reverse this. They are dishonest with themselves and transparent with others. They rationalize their fear internally while projecting sincerity outwardly. Machiavelli would see this as inversion, a fatal imbalance. The cold mind flips it. It practices ruthless self-honesty and disciplined external restraint. This restraint feels uncomfortable at first because it contradicts moral conditioning. You are told that holding back is manipulation, that silence is deception, that strategic ambiguity is immoral. These ideas are comforting because they absolve you of responsibility. If honesty is always good, then consequences are never your fault. But Machiavelli rejected moral comfort. He replaced it with responsibility. Responsibility means understanding that your words shape outcomes, that your disclosures change power dynamics, that your openness trains others how to treat you. When you reveal too much, you invite management. When you explain yourself excessively, you invite negotiation. When you confess uncertainty, you invite dominance. This does not mean you become cruel or dishonest. It means you become intentional. You speak when speech strengthens position, You remain silent when silence preserves leverage. You reveal truth when it stabilizes outcomes, and you withhold it when it destabilizes authority. Authority is fragile. It is not destroyed by lies alone, but by inconsistency between image and action. Excessive honesty creates that inconsistency because emotions fluctuate faster than structures can adapt. When you narrate every doubt, every fear, every internal conflict, you teach others that your center is unstable, even when your actions are sound. People do not follow those who confess confusion. They follow those who project coherence. Coherence does not require perfection. It requires containment. Machiavelli understood containment as one of the highest forms of discipline. To contain emotion, to contain information, to contain impulse. This containment is not repression. It is strategy. The modern world celebrates oversharing because it mistakes exposure for courage. But courage without strategy is sacrifice, not strength. You do not win wars by revealing your plans. You do not negotiate from advantage by disclosing your limits. You do not lead by narrating your insecurities. These truths are uncomfortable because they contradict moral theater, but they align perfectly with outcomes. Look carefully and you will see the pattern everywhere. The most honest person in the room is rarely the most influential. The most transparent is rarely the most respected. Respect flows toward those who control the frame, not those who pour themselves into it. This realization creates inner tension. You may feel resistance rising, a desire to defend honesty as virtue. That resistance is not intellectual, it is emotional. It is the fear of becoming something darker, colder, less liked. Machiavelli would say that fear is precisely why the lesson matters. The cold mind does not become cruel, it becomes selective. It understands that revealing truth is an act of power only when you control the conditions. Otherwise, it is submission disguised as integrity. Once you see this, you cannot unsee it. You begin noticing how often people ask questions not to understand, but to position. How often conversations are not exchanges, but probes. How often openness is rewarded with extraction, not reciprocity. You start noticing how leaders who speak too honestly lose authority during crisis. How those who explain too much invite debate when decisiveness is needed. How those who reveal their internal struggles too publicly are managed rather than followed. Machiavelli did not despise honesty, he despised foolishness. And foolishness to him was any bay, avior that weakened position under the illusion of virtue. He believed virtue should serve survival, not replace it. As this understanding settles, your relationship with truth changes. Truth becomes something you wield, not something you spill. You stop asking whether honesty feels good and start asking whether it strengthens your position. You stop confessing and start choosing. This is the beginning of real power. Not the loud power of domination, but the quiet power of control. Control over what is known about you. Control over when you reveal. Control over how others interpret your actions. And as this control grows, so does your stability. You are no longer emotionally reactive. You no longer feel compelled to explain yourself to be understood. You no longer fear being misinterpreted because you understand that interpretation is always filtered through interest. The world does not owe you understanding. It responds to consequence. Machiavelli knew this, and once you accept it, honesty stops being your weakness. It becomes your tool. Once you stop worshipping honesty as an automatic virtue, a deeper unease begins to surface. Not guilt, but awareness. You start noticing how often truth is demanded from you, not offered in return. How frequently people ask for clarity while keeping their own intentions blurred. How easily the language of honesty is used as a moral crowbar to pry open your defenses while theirs remain intact. This is not accidental, it is structural. Machiavelli understood that moral language is one of the most effective tools of control ever invented, not because morality is false, but because it can be selectively applied. Those who insist most loudly on honesty are often those who benefit most from asymmetry. They want visibility into you while maintaining opacity around themselves. They want to know your limits while keeping theirs flexible. They want your sincerity because sincerity disarms. The moment you internalize this, you realize that excessive honesty is not innocence. It is exposure without protection. And exposure, in any competitive environment, is an invitation, not necessarily to cruelty, but to use. People will use what is available. If you make your inner world public, do not be surprised when it becomes a resource for others. This is where many people recoil. They want to believe exploitation is rare, that misuse of honesty is an exception. Machiavelli would say the opposite. He would say that people exploit not because they are monsters, but because incentives reward those who do. When honesty costs nothing, it is praised. When it creates advantage, it is consumed. At this stage, the cold mind begins to separate intention from effect. You may intend honesty as connection, but the effect may be leverage against you. You may intend openness as trust building, but the effect may be diminished authority. Machiavelli judged actions by outcomes, not intentions. This is why his philosophy feels unsettling. It removes the comfort of moral self-justification. You begin seeing how honesty becomes a form of self-soothing. Speaking truth relieves internal tension. It feels like alignment. But relief is not power. Relief is release. And release without containment weakens position. The cold mind asks a harder question. Does this truth need to be spoken now, here, to this person, in this form? Most people never ask this. They speak because they feel compelled. They explain because they feel pressure. They confess because silence feels dishonest. Machiavelli would call this slavery to impulse, not virtue. Power begins where impulse ends. As you observe this more closely, you notice how social systems subtly punish restraint while rewarding exposure rhetorically. People say they value honesty, but they trust those who remain composed. They say they want transparency, but they follow those who project certainty. They claim openness builds intimacy, yet they respect boundaries far more than disclosures. This contradiction confuses the honest person. They feel betrayed by outcomes that do not match the moral narrative they were taught. The cold mind does not feel betrayed because it never believed the narrative in the first place. It studies behavior, not slogans. Behavior reveals that people are uncomfortable with too much truth. Raw honesty disrupts hierarchies. It forces responses. It creates obligations. Most people prefer partial truth delivered with control. They want enough honesty to feel safe, but not so much that it destabilizes roles. This is why those who overshare often find themselves subtly excluded, not because they are disliked, but because they introduce volatility. They make others responsible for their inner states. They collapse private and public space. Power requires differentiation. Roles require distance. Machiavelli saw this clearly in courts and councils. Rulers who spoke too freely were not admired, they were anticipated. Their moves became predictable, their weaknesses became common knowledge, their authority dissolved into familiarity. Familiarity is lethal to power. This applies equally in modern life. When people know exactly how you feel, what you fear, what you want, they no longer need to guess. Guessing keeps others cautious, certainty makes them bold. Excessive honesty removes uncertainty, and uncertainty is a form of protection. The cold mind does not seek to confuse others constantly. That would be exhausting and unstable. Instead, it preserves a controlled ambiguity, enough clarity to function, enough opacity to protect. This balance is difficult because it requires self-restraint under pressure. Pressure is where honesty most often becomes weakness. When challenged, people rush to explain. When accused, they rush to clarify. When misunderstood, they rush to correct. Each rush leaks information. Each clarification reveals priorities. Each explanation teaches others how to destabilize you again. Machiavelli would advise silence first, observation second, response last. Not because silence is manipulative, but because reaction is revealing. Those who react immediately surrender tempo. Tempo is power. Whoever sets the pace controls the exchange. Think carefully about how often honesty is demanded urgently. Explain now, be clear now, tell us how you feel now. Urgency is rarely neutral. It is a tactic. It compresses time so you cannot calculate. It forces emotional truth instead of strategic truth. The cold mind resists urgency unless delay would cause greater harm. This resistance often makes you appear distant or evasive. That discomfort is the price of strength. People equate accessibility with goodness and restraint with suspicion. Machiavelli would accept suspicion over accessibility every time. Suspicion keeps others careful. Carelessness invites exploitation. As you adapt to this, you may feel an internal split forming. One part of you still wants to be open, to be seen, to be validated. Another part understands that visibility is not safety. This split is not hypocrisy, it is maturation. Children survive by being expressive. Adults survive by being selective. Machiavelli's world was brutal, but its psychological mechanics remain unchanged. Humans still test boundaries, still seek advantage, still exploit predictability. Technology has not altered this, it has accelerated it. Oversharing is no longer a personal flaw, it is a business model. Platforms reward exposure. Algorithms favor confession. The cost is paid privately in diminished leverage. The cold mind opts out of this economy. It understands that not every thought deserves airtime. Not every feeling requires expression. Not every truth improves outcomes. Restraint becomes a form of sovereignty. You begin to notice a shift in how people treat you. They listen more carefully. They project more onto you. They ask more questions. This is not because you have become mysterious intentionally, but because you have stopped filling silence with explanation. Silence creates space. Space creates projection. Projection creates influence. Influence without disclosure is powerful because it is flexible. You are not trapped by your own words. You are not bound by past confessions. You can adapt without being accused of inconsistency because you never overcommitted verbally in the first place. This terrifies those who rely on honesty as identity. They believe withholding is deception. Machiavelli would counter that deception begins when you reveal truths selectively to manipulate perception. Withholding indiscriminately is not deception, it is protection. Protection of what? Of your future options, of your strategic mobility, of your authority to decide later rather than be locked into earlier statements made under emotional conditions. Most people do not realize how often honesty binds them. They say what they want, then feel obligated to pursue it, even when conditions change. They confess doubt, then lose confidence in the eyes of others permanently. They reveal limits, then are held to them. The cold mind avoids binding statements unless it intends to be bound. It treats speech as commitment, not expression. This alone elevates perceived power dramatically. Machiavelli knew that rulers fall not only because of enemies, but because of words spoken too freely in moments of comfort. Familiarity breeds contempt because familiarity erodes consequence. When people know everything about you, they stop fearing the unknown. Fear of the unknown is a stabilizing force. Again, fear here does not mean terror. It means respect for uncertainty. It means awareness that miscalculation carries risk. Excessive honesty removes risk for others while increasing it for you. As this understanding deepens, you may grieve the loss of a simpler worldview. The idea that truth alone protects you, that sincerity is armor, that goodness is enough. This grief is natural. It marks the death of naivete. Machiavelli would not mock this grief. He would recognize it. He lived it. His writings are not cold because he lacked feeling, but because he refused to let feeling dictate strategy. He chose survival over comfort, stability over purity. At this stage, honesty becomes something you reserve for places of safety and symmetry, with those who share stakes, with those who have proven restraint, with those who cannot profit from your exposure. This makes honesty more valuable, not less. Truth spoken in protected space strengthens bonds. Truth spoken indiscriminately weakens position. The difference lies not in the truth, but in the context. You now see why being too honest makes you weak. Not because honesty is bad, but because unregulated honesty transfers power outward. Power is not lost all at once. It leaks gradually through unnecessary disclosure. And once leaked, it is rarely returned. At this point, the transformation becomes internal rather than visible. You are no longer merely adjusting what you say. You are changing how you perceive the act of speaking itself. Words stop being emotional discharge and start becoming instruments. You feel the weight of each sentence before it leaves you. You sense how even small disclosures alter the balance in a room. This awareness is subtle, almost unsettling, because it reveals how much damage you once inflicted on yourself. Without ever noticing. You begin replaying past moments with new clarity. Conversations where you explained too much. Confessions that felt relieving but quietly repositioned you beneath someone else. Moments where honesty won praise but lost leverage. Not dramatic betrayals, just small shifts in how others treated you afterward. Less consultation, more assumptions, more comfort in pushing you. These memories sting, not because others were malicious, but because you finally see the mechanics at work. Machiavelli would call this awakening painful but necessary. He believed most suffering in power dynamics comes not from cruelty, but from miscalculation. From believing the world works one way when it consistently behaves another. The cold mind accepts correction without self-pity. Regret is converted into discipline. Discipline here is not silence for silence's sake. It is alignment between inner truth and outer strategy. You do not become hollow. You become contained. There is a difference. Hollow people have nothing to reveal. Contained people have everything but choose carefully. This containment changes how you listen. You stop assuming questions are neutral. You hear tone, timing, context. You sense when curiosity masks positioning, when concern masks extraction, when encouragement masks expectation. You realize that not every question deserves an answer, and not every silence requires explanation. At first, this feels rude. You have been conditioned to equate responsiveness with virtue. But Machiavelli would remind you that responsiveness without authority is submission. Authority responds on its own terms. You also start noticing how honesty is used as a test. People will ask you to reveal opinions on controversial matters, not because they care what you think, but to see how safe you are to categorize. Once categorized, you are managed accordingly. The cold mind resists premature categorization. It stays undefined long enough to observe. Undefined does not mean deceptive. It means unclaimed. It means you do not rush to declare allegiance, emotion, or belief before understanding the terrain. Rushing is a luxury of those who do not bear consequence. Machiavelli saw this in political alliances constantly. Those who declared loyalty too early lost bargaining power. Those who waited, watched, and spoke later shaped outcomes. Timing was everything. The same is true in human interaction. As this settles in, you feel less urgency to be understood. Urgency itself was a weakness. It signaled dependence on approval. When you stop needing others to validate your inner truth, you gain freedom. Freedom to wait, freedom to choose, freedom to disengage. Disengagement is another misunderstood form of power. Not every battle needs honesty as a weapon. Sometimes withdrawal preserves position better than confrontation. The honest person often feels compelled to correct misunderstandings. The cold mind asks whether correction is necessary or merely soothing. Many misunderstandings resolve themselves. Others expose themselves over time. Intervening prematurely often helps the other side more than you. Silence allows reality to surface without your assistance. This is where patience becomes strategic rather than passive. You allow people to reveal themselves fully instead of interrupting their process with your truth. Most people eventually expose their incentives if given space. Talking less lets you see more. Seeing more sharpens judgment. Judgment sharpens restraint. Restraint consolidates power. You also begin to feel the internal calm that comes with not carrying the burden of explanation. Explanation was heavy. It tied you to others' perceptions. It forced you to manage reactions. When you stop over-explaining, you reclaim mental energy. That energy goes into observation, planning, and execution. Execution is where honesty truly loses relevance. Outcomes speak louder than disclosure. When your actions are consistent and effective, people care less about what you think and more about what you do. Machiavelli always prioritized outcomes. Words were tools to support action, not substitutes for it. You start respecting people who speak little but act decisively. You notice how they are rarely interrogated. Their silence is interpreted as confidence. This is not accidental. People question those who seem unsure. Silence, when backed by consistency, projects certainty. Consistency is what allows restraint to work. Without consistency, silence appears evasive. With consistency, silence appears deliberate. The cold mind invests heavily in consistency. It enforces standards quietly. It avoids emotional swings. It becomes predictable in behavior while remaining opaque in thought. This duality is powerful. Predictable behavior creates trust. Opaque thought preserves leverage. Most people do the opposite. They are emotionally predictable and behaviorally inconsistent. They reveal everything internally and then surprise others externally. This erodes trust and authority simultaneously. Machiavelli would say that stability comes from reversing this pattern. As you embody this, relationships change, some fade, those built on oversharing and emotional dumping weaken because you no longer provide that function. This can feel like loss, but what fades was never balanced. It required your exposure as fuel. Other relationships deepen. Those that survive restraint are based on respect, not extraction. They do not demand constant access to your inner world. They value your presence, your reliability, your judgment. This sorting is not cruel, it is natural. Power reorganizes social environments whether you end it or not. Becoming more contained naturally repels those who benefited from your openness and attracts those who value your strength. There is also a moral fear that arises here, the fear of becoming manipulative. Machiavelli would dismantle this fear calmly. Manipulation requires intent to deceive. Restraint requires intent to protect. If you are not actively misleading but simply not revealing, you are not manipulating. You are governing yourself. Self-governance is the foundation of all power. Those who cannot govern their tongue cannot govern anything else. As this realization deepens, honesty transforms again. It becomes rare, and rarity increases value. When you do speak plainly, it carries weight. People listen more carefully because they know you do not speak casually. Your words are not constant noise. They are signals. Signals shape environments. A single honest sentence, delivered intentionally, can realign an entire dynamic. The cold mind chooses these moments deliberately. It does not waste truth on those who have not earned it or cannot handle it responsibly. This is perhaps the most difficult shift, accepting that not everyone deserves your truth. Not because you are superior, but because truth is not neutral. It changes people. It changes dynamics. Giving it indiscriminately is reckless. Machiavelli never advocated cruelty, but he was ruthless about responsibility. If your honesty destabilizes order, weakens position, or invites harm, then honesty is not virtuous. It is negligent. Negligence feels lighter than discipline in the moment. Discipline feels heavy but protects over time. The cold mind chooses the heavier path because it carries less long-term cost. By now, you feel the gap widening between who you were and who you are becoming. You are quieter, more observant, less reactive. This can be misinterpreted as distance or arrogance. Let it. Perception is not your priority anymore. Outcome is. You understand now that honesty, unregulated, is not bravery. Bravery is holding truth without needing to release it. Bravery is enduring misunderstanding without correcting it. Bravery is choosing restraint when confession would feel easier. This is the psychological edge Machiavelli wanted you to have. Not to deceive the world, but to stop being deceived by your own impulses, to stop mistaking emotional relief for strength, to stop trading leverage for approval. You are no longer trying to be seen as good. You are trying to remain intact, and intactness is power. At the final stage, the lesson stops feeling intellectual and starts feeling unavoidable. You no longer debate whether honesty has made you weak in the past. You see it clearly, almost painfully, etched into outcomes you once blamed on bad luck, misunderstanding, or other people's flaws. Patterns line up, consequences make sense, and what remains is not shame, but responsibility. You realize now that the world did not punish you for being good. It simply responded to what you gave it. You offered access without limits. You offered truth without leverage. You offered sincerity without protection. And the world, being what it is, used what was available. Not out of cruelty, but out of structure. Gravity does not hate the falling object, it simply pulls. This is where the cold mind becomes fully integrated. You stop seeing restraint as hiding and start seeing it as positioning. You stop equating silence with weakness and begin recognizing it as dominance over impulse. You stop asking whether honesty is morally right and start asking whether it is strategically necessary. Necessity becomes your compass. You understand now that power is not built by revealing yourself, but by governing yourself. Every time you resist the urge to explain, you claim authority. Every time you choose timing over impulse, you increase leverage. Every time you let silence do the work that words used to do, you harden your position. This is not about becoming deceptive. Deception is noisy. It requires maintenance. It fractures identity. What you are learning is far more demanding and far more stable. You are learning containment, and containment is what separates those who endure from those who burn out emotionally and socially. You begin to sense how rare this discipline is, how few people can sit with discomfort without narrating it, how few can hold truth internally without demanding recognition for it, how few can be misunderstood without rushing to self-defense. That rarity is precisely why it creates power. Machiavelli understood that the strongest position is the one that cannot be easily read, not because it intends harm, but because it cannot be easily managed. When others cannot predict you perfectly, they proceed with caution. Caution slows aggression. Caution invites respect. Respect stabilizes dynamics. You also understand something else now, something uncomfortable but liberating. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves to know what you think, what you feel, what you fear, or what you plan. Access is not a right. It is earned through alignment, consistency, and shared consequence. This realization ends a long internal conflict. You stop feeling guilty for not explaining yourself. You stop feeling rude for not answering every question. You stop feeling dishonest for choosing privacy. You recognize that boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They allow in what strengthens you and keep out what weakens you. Weakness, you now see, was never kindness. Weakness was overexposure. Weakness was speaking to relieve anxiety rather than to shape reality. Weakness was believing that if people truly knew you, they would protect you. The truth is harsher and simpler. People protect what they respect, and they respect what holds form. Form is discipline. Form is restraint. Form is silence backed by consistency. This does not make you cold in the emotional sense. It makes you cold in the strategic sense, calm under pressure, measured under scrutiny, unrushed when provoked. You no longer leak yourself into environments that cannot hold you responsibly. And now comes the final, unavoidable choice. You can hear this and return to old habits. You can continue explaining yourself, confessing your doubts, offering transparency as proof of goodness, and then wondering why your influence keeps shrinking. You can keep mistaking relief for strength and exposure for courage, or you can change. You can stop volunteering information that weakens you. You can stop answering questions that were never asked in good faith. You can stop narrating your inner world to people who have not earned stewardship over it. You can let silence work for you instead of against you. You can decide that from this moment forward, honesty will no longer be automatic. It will be intentional, it will be timed, it will be placed where it builds power instead of dismantling it. Think like Machiavelli, not to manipulate others, but to protect yourself from your own conditioning. Withdraw your truth from hostile or careless environments. Guard your inner clarity. Speak when it matters. Remain silent when it strengthens you. Because the world does not reward those who give everything away. It rewards those who know when to hold back. Stop being too honest. Start being deliberate and take your power back.